Welcome to Spine Chillers and Serial Killers. Emma's got the haunting shadows in the night. Becky digs the crime scenes, tales of bloody fright. Tash just sits there wide-eyed, did that really occur? Laughing through the chaos of the creepy and absurd. Spine chillers and serial killers, where the ghosts meet the crime scene thrillers. Spooky, funny, strange, but true. They've got a nightmare just for you. Don't look behind you. Did you hear that?
Hello and welcome back to this week's Spine Chillers and Serial Killers. I'm Emma.
And I'm Tash.
And it's just the two of us.
We are flying as a duo ce soir.
Doesn't happen often, does it?
It doesn't happen often, no. Bex is a busy bee and life's getting in the way. So we thought, let's not miss an episode. Let's us do it.
Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do it. But I do have a confession because I said, yeah, it'll be fine because I'm doing a multi-parter. I'm starting a series. So I'll just do 2 parts. And then I fell asleep. So I haven't had a chance to finish the script entirely. So you're getting 1.5 parts.
Lovely, like a third.
If you say so, yeah.
Well, were you going to do it in... How many parts was there going to be?
I don't know. I was thinking maybe 3, possibly 2. Possibly 2.
Well, let's see what happens, won't we?
Well, just go with the flow. It'll be okay. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
How are you anyway, darling?
Yeah, I'm fine. I was just saying to you how I'm having loads of breakouts, which is really frustrating. You know, first world problems. What else is going on in my life? I think that's about it.
This kind of age is so unfair because you have to deal with like grey hair. Like you're getting a few wrinkles. They're there. They're not like you're not wrinkly, there. But you're getting the first few. Yeah, and you're also like a teenager with acne. It's like, what the fuck's going on? It's not fair.
Yeah, and there's this thing. I follow this woman on like Instagram. She talks about millennials and how we're refusing to get older, but we don't look like what a 30 and 40s look like 30 years ago, do we? Like, we haven't aged the same.
Oh, God, no. No, you look at like the old TV programmes where people are like 30. They look like they're 50 or 60, but no, they're our age. It's crazy.
They're our age. So it is a really weird one, isn't it? But there's definitely some sort of like third of a way through my life crisis going on where I don't really know where I fit in. I still think I'm cool and try and talk to the young ones at work and they're like, no, Tash, you could be our mum. And I'm like, oh, fuck you.
That's rough. You could be my mum.
Yeah, it is rough. One of the girls says to me all the time, she goes, you say some things that my mum says. And I go, she must be a great woman then.
I bet she's really cool.
Yeah, so cool.
I'm part of, obviously I'm part of a dog rescue association, as you know. And we're a great team, all women, really, really nice. We all get on like a house on fire. But my nickname in the group chat is Mother Emma.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh. Or it's either Mother Emma or Mother Yoda because I'm so wise with my age.
Wise. You're so wise.
I'm so wise. So that's fun. I'm like...
I'm quite pleased that within my friendship group, I'm actually the youngest one, which has always kind of been how my friendship groups go. Yeah. But I'm definitely no longer the sensible one.
Are you ready for my story?
Yes.
Okay, so we are back to spooky stuff. And this story has everything. Even a barking dachshund in the background.
That's all I wanted.
Okay, this is the true story of the Dagg family haunting that takes us all the way back to the late autumn of 1889, so a fair while ago now, 1889. It takes place in a small isolated farming community called Shawville in... Now, you have to help me with this. Do you say Quebec or Quebec? Quebec,
I think.
Quebec.
Yeah.
Right. So in France, it's definitely Quebec. In English, it could be Quebec, but it's that place in Canada.
I think say it the French way because it's French-speaking part of Canada.
It is. Quebec. Okay. So back then, this wasn't the cosy countryside getaway. It was a harsh, unforgiving wilderness carved out near the Ottawa River. The family, so the Dagg family, consisted of George Dagg, a stoic, hard-working farmer, and his wife, Susan. Now, by all accounts, they were just good, ordinary, religious people trying to survive the brutal Canadian elements with their 2 young children, a 4-year-old girl named Mary and a 2-year-old baby boy named Johnny. But the energy in that small, cramped log cabin changed completely when they welcomed a new member into their home. An 11-year-old orphan girl named Dina Burden McLean. Now, little Dina was what they called a home child. So this was part of a massive British immigration scheme where underprivileged and orphaned children from the UK were shipped over to Canada. And let's be real here, the adopting system wasn't really because it wasn't an act of love or charity. It was a business transaction. It was a way for struggling pioneers to get free labour, child labour. So in exchange for a roof over their heads, which was sometimes, just a corner of the hay barn, and basic food, these kids were expected to work bloody hard. Dina had been brought all the way over from Glasgow, Scotland, essentially to be a servant helping Susan around the homestead with the heavy chores. She was a quiet, plain girl who mostly kept her head down. But almost immediately after Dina crossed the threshold of the Dagg home, things started to feel off. It began with strange, heavy footsteps walking across the floorboards when no one was there. Guys, you're just going to have to excuse my dogs. We're doing it earlier than usual. They're going to bark.
Yeah, they're not settled, are they, in their beds? They're still loving life.
They're still partying, bless them. So we're starting with the creaky floorboards, people walking across when there's no one there, that old chestnut. So George, being a practical farmer, just assumed it was the harsh winter frost warping the timber. You know, that one?
Yeah.
The house is settling.
The house is settling, it's just talking.
Yeah. But deep down, the family knew something wasn't right. The activity seemed to follow Dina wherever she walked, and it wasn't long before those quiet footsteps turned into something much louder and much more terrifying. The peace in the Dagg household officially shattered on September 15th, 1889. Just the day before, George had handed his wife Susan some cash for the household. A $2 bill and a $5 bill, which he tucked away in a bedroom drawer. Now, besides Dina, Daggs also had a young orphan farmhand boy living with them called Dean. And to give you an idea of his status in the household, Dean didn't even sleep in the cabin. He was relegated out to the barn, sleeping in the hay, only coming inside the main house to do his chores. So on this particular day, Dean walked up to George and handed him the $5 bill, claiming he'd just found it laying there on the kitchen floor. George, highly suspicious, checked the drawer and confirmed the cash was indeed missing. He then marched straight out to the barn, went over to where Dean slept and started tearing through the hay. Sure enough, the missing $2 bill came fluttering out from the straw. George was furious. He assumed Dean had stolen the cash, panicked and made up a terrible lie to cover his tracks. But Dean swore up and down that he'd no idea how the money got there. But George was not buying it. Right after the money incident, things took a vicious, disgusting turn. Susan woke up one morning and somebody had taken human waste from the family outhouse and smeared it all over the kitchen floor. So for George, that vile act of vandalism was the final straw. He blamed Dean for everything, the money and the filth. He dragged young Dean into the town of Shoreville and had him locked up in the local jail for theft. George probably thought that that was the end of it. The problem child was behind bars, in the dark, and life could go back to normal. But that would really be a very boring story, so of course things do not get better at the Dagg household. While poor Dean was sitting helplessly in a jail cell miles away, things back at the homestead went completely off the rails, proving without a doubt that they had imprisoned an innocent kid. The gross human waste appearing out of nowhere happened again the very next day, smearing the Dagg's cabin in their own poo once again. And as soon as night fell, the cabin would fill with deafening thuds. It sounded like massive, heavy hands were relentlessly pounding on the outside walls. George and Susan would jump out of bed, grab a lantern, and rush outside to catch the prankster. But the second they opened the door, the woods were dead silent. No one was there. The moment they gave up, climbed back into bed, and blew out the lantern, the pounding would start right back up again. Oh, that sound! I've just realised how wrong that sounds. I didn't mean that to sound as kinky as it did, but there we go. And then came a sound that would make anyone's blood run cold. The slow, rhythmic creaking of the family's rocking chair. Rocking chairs are just fucking creepy.
They're awful.
I think I've seen too many horror films and they just, they scare me. So they would sprint into the room to see who was sitting in the rocking chair, and of course it would be bloody completely empty, but it would be rocking violently back and forth all by itself. Before long, the entity shifted from making creepy noises to total chaotic destruction. Chairs were flung across the rooms by invisible hands. Made beds were violently stripped and unmade. Kitchen plates would fly out of cupboards on their own, shattering into pieces across the floorboards. But the most terrifying part, the entity began physically attacking the family. One afternoon, Susan received a jug of ice-cold water straight to the face out of nowhere. Wake you up a bit.
Sometimes cold water's nice on your face.
Out of nowhere when you're not expecting it from a ghost? Possibly not. And then their little 4-year-old, Mary, opened the front door and was instantly struck in the chest by a large stone, leaving the poor girl terrified and bruised. She was all right, though, but still.
Good.
Not pleasant. This thing was gross, destructive, and increasingly violent. But it was only going to get so much worse.
Of course.
Of course.
It would be a boring story if it stopped here.
I don't know, it's done quite a lot already, but it gets worse. Suddenly, the cabin came under a relentless siege. Rocks began raining down on the house from the outside, smashing the windows and tearing up the property. George, desperate to protect his family, decided to fight back, and he went outside and hid in the brush, completely out of sight, waiting to catch the culprit. He sat there and literally watched the stones flying through the air with his own eyes, but no matter how hard he looked, he could never see where they were coming from. It was like they were appearing out of thin air. George finally had to swallow his pride and admit to the truth. Dean had had absolutely nothing to do with any of this. So in his defence, George went to the authorities and asked for the boy to be released. So understandably, Dean just hopped on the next train that was going anywhere but the Dagg's house. He was like, fuck that, no thank you, I'm not going back there.
I can't blame him.
No. But at least George did the right thing. When he realised he did,
the most sensible thing. I think a lot of people in horror stories could take a leaf out of George's book.
Yeah, he was like, you know what? We've got some kind of demonic demon. It wasn't Dean. Let's get him out of jail. Desperate for some support, George's parents came to stay at the cabin, but instead of bringing any peace, they walked straight into a nightmare. They sat there in total shock as the windows continued to shatter from stones appearing out of nowhere. And then things took a turn to the absolutely surreal. While the house was actively under attack, with rocks slamming into the walls and glass flying everywhere, George's harmonica suddenly lifted up.
Not the harmonica!
The harmonica! It lifted up right in front of everyone's eyes and started playing by itself. Oh, I don't like it.
Oh.
Bouncing up and down to the beat of what it was playing. There's just something so incredibly creepy about that. I don't like it.
What instrument would have been worse? I think a flute.
Banjo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what instrument. Well, it's usually a piano, isn't it? It's the piano that starts playing itself.
Yeah, but that can always be talked away with a mouse in it or something.
Yeah, I don't know how you explain the harmonica.
No.
Oh. So how these people didn't just pack their bags and run for the hills right there and then is completely beyond me, because that would be like, yeah, fuck this, I am out. But they didn't. But as if the haunted harmonica and a constant barrage of rocks wasn't enough, the entity decided it needed some extra pizzazz. So spontaneous fires started breaking out all over the house. I mean, what can't this ghost do?
Get yourself a ghost that can do it all.
So these fires would break out completely at random, day or night. One minute everybody'd be fine sitting there, and the next a curtain or a pile of clothes or a corner of the wall would suddenly burst into flames. And because of this, George and Susan couldn't sleep. They had to stay awake, standing guard around the clock with buckets of water just to make sure their home and their babies didn't go down in flames. Sucks. That really sucks.
It does.
Weirdly, though, even though they're living in a wood cabin, the fires never really did any real damage.
That's a blessing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's almost like the ghost is just going, look what
teasing
I can do.
Him.
Yeah,
yeah,
look what I can do.
It's just playing.
And they were always put out just in time. But the psychological toll of it was devastating. The fear of being burned alive left the Daggs completely exhausted, sleep-deprived, and at a total loss of how to carry on, let alone how to fight a war against an invisible enemy. The poltergeist, as I think it's safe to assume that's what this could potentially be at this point, was also physically attacking the family, pushing them over, kicking them, pulling hair, and just altogether being a violent shithead, really. And then the shithead began to speak.
Right, that's not what I thought was going to happen.
To begin with, no one could really make out what it was saying. You could just tell it was like deep old man noises, like, you know.
Yeah.
The first phrase that everyone heard that was loud and clear was directed at one of the children, and it said, "Would you like to come to hell with me, little girl?"
It's quite the sentence.
Oh, not pleasant.
No. That's quite a sentence, isn't it?
It's, not particularly what you'd want to hear.
No, and I thought he might be more subtle than that, but clearly not.
Oh, subtlety is not this thing's forte. So as the chaos grew, George and Susan began to notice a terrifying pattern. All of this insanity, the flying rocks, the fires, the musical instruments, only ever happened when 11-year-old Dina was around. The entity seemed tied to her like a shadow. So suspecting that the quiet Scottish girl might somehow be pulling off the ultimate prank, George and Susan decided to watch her every single move. At least they just watched her, didn't send her off to jail.
No, well, that's something.
They tracked her constantly as she went about with her daily chores, but it quickly became obvious that poor Dina was completely innocent. While her mere presence was acting like a battery for the entity, she wasn't actually doing anything. In fact, things would fly across the room while she was on the complete opposite side of the house, scrubbing the floors. Furthermore, the unholy, constant stream of speech that filled the cabin pretty much all day long, because this thing is now talking constantly at them. It wasn't just one voice. This entity would constantly swap between two different terrifying personas. 1 minute it was a gruff, low, gravelly bark that sounded like it belonged to a grown man. The next it would warp into a high-pitched, screeching, insane-sounding giggle that would make your skin crawl.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Neither of these sounds could have possibly come out of a child's mouth. Multiple people watched Dina while the entity was speaking, and her lips wouldn't move an inch. There was absolutely no throwing of the voice happening here. The disembodied voice followed the Daggs around relentlessly, insulting them, mocking them, and spewing absolute hatred and non-stop vulgarities at the family. In a tiny, tight-knit pioneer community like Shoreville, a story this insane could never be kept secret. The gossip spread through the Ottawa Valley like wildfire. By October of 1889, the Dagg homestead had turned into a full-blown tourist attraction. People were constantly making the trek out to the cabin just to see if they could get a glimpse of what the locals were now officially calling the Dagg Demon. And honestly, the entity did not disappoint. This thing absolutely loved an audience. It was a total showman, and it happily performed for the crowds of curious onlookers. Whenever visitors would yell questions into the empty air, the voice would bark back answers, laced with the exact same non-stop vulgarity and venom it used on the Daggs. But then, things took a deeply disconcerting turn. The voice didn't just swear at its visitors, it started revealing their deepest, darkest secrets.
Oh, I would not want to be around that one.
No. It knew things about these total strangers that George and Susan Dagg couldn't possibly have known. It would call people out by name, exposing their hidden shames, local scandals, and private lies right
I would
in front.
so be there for the gossip, though.
Yeah, I mean, juicy, but like, don't do me, you know?
Don't say me, but I want to hear the gossip. I live for the gossip.
Can you imagine how incredibly awkward and tense that cabin must have been?
Very tense.
But more than that, how terrifying. My brain automatically tries to debunk stories like this, but this is the exact point where the hoax theory, for me anyway, completely falls apart. Even if we stretch reality and pretend that an 11-year-old Dina was the world's greatest ventriloquist and she could make the voices that everybody was hearing, there is absolutely no logical way a young orphan girl who just stays at home doing chores, doesn't know anybody, she's only just recently arrived, would know the dirty laundry of every single person that came, the neighbours, the travellers going through the area, that came to the cabin. There's just no way she would know.
Well, no.
Naturally, the brave souls in the crowd started to demand to know exactly what they were talking to. But whenever people asked the voice who it belonged to, it could never keep its story straight. It never gave the same answer twice. Sometimes it claimed to be the spirit of a man who had lived and died in the area a long time ago. Other times it hissed that it was a literal demon sent straight from hell by a vengeful witch. And then, of course, it would turn up the drama and claim to be Satan himself. So just when you think that the story has peaked, because, you know, we've got quite a lot of activity going on, the Dagg Demon proves that it can, in fact, get so much worse. The entity shifted from a disembodied voice to a full-blown visual nightmare and started revealing itself directly to little Dina. One afternoon, Dina was in the bedroom doing chores alongside George's mother. Suddenly Dina froze, looked at the bed and cried out, "Grandmother, can you see that thing pulling off the bedclothes?" The grandmother spun around. She couldn't see a physical creature, But she saw something just as horrifying. The heavy blankets were actually being ripped off the mattress by an invisible force and floating right there in midair as if held by unseen hands. Knowing Dina wasn't making it up, the grandmother decided she'd had enough, and she grabbed George's leather cattle whip, shoved it into the 11-year-old's hands, and yelled, "Whip it, Dina, whip it!"
Oh gosh, kinky.
Dina didn't hesitate. She started lashing out at the empty air. By this time, the rest of the family had heard the commotion and rushed into the room, cheering her on as the first cracks of the whips echoed through the cabin. Dina kept swinging, striking the invisible mass over and over again. Suddenly, after multiple hits, a deafening, piercing, pig-like squeal tore through the room. The floating sheets instantly dropped to the floorboards.
Go on, girl.
Catching her breath, and told the family that the strange black mass she was looking at had finally vanished. If they needed proof that Dina had actually connected with the entity, they got it later that day. A scrap of paper was pinned to the door of the bedroom, and on it was scribbled, "You gave me 15 cuts."
That is wild.
Yeah.
That's interesting because we don't often hear of things happening that way round, do we?
What, like the living attacking the demons?
Yeah.
And what brave little girl for 11.
I know, bloody hero.
But the terror didn't stop with Dina. Shortly after the whip incident, the Dagg Demon began showing itself to the two toddlers, Mary and Johnny.
Oh no.
And it didn't just appear as a shadow, it took on multiple deeply unholy forms. The toddlers would scream in terror, describing a giant, towering man with a cow's head and cloven hooves standing in the corners of their room. Other times they would see a massive, pitch-black hellhound with glowing red eyes staring at them from the dark.
That's mean, isn't it?
The poor children were absolutely petrified, and even though George and Susan couldn't see these horrifying apparitions themselves, they wholeheartedly believed their kids. To this deeply religious family, the truth was now blindingly obvious. For reasons they couldn't possibly understand, the devil had chosen their isolated homestead to torment them and their family. The only next logical step for this highly religious family, of course, was to ask for help from the church. Call the church! Get a priest!
Never move house, obviously. That's never the obvious choice.
Yes, can we just move? I don't think, to be fair. Pioneers, you know, it's probably not that easy just to pick. You have to build a house and stuff, you know, it's probably not that easy.
I know, but still, move house, guys.
They managed to get a local man of the cloth to come out to the isolated house, likely hoping for a solemn, powerful clearing of the house. But if they thought a collar and some scripture was going to intimidate the Dagg Demon, they were dead wrong. This entity didn't cower. In fact, it seemed thrilled to have a new challenger. The moment the minister stepped into the cabin, the voice piped up, completely unfazed, and instead of fleeing from the holy man, the demon did what it did best. It went on the attack, relentlessly mocking the minister with a non-stop tirade of vulgarities and insults. But then the entity decided to show everyone exactly how little it cared about holy authority. As the priest stood there holding his heavy, sacred Bible and preparing to read scriptures that were supposed to cast out the evil, the book was suddenly ripped clean out of his hands and vanished into thin air in front of everyone's eyes. The room went dead silent. A frantic search began through the chaotic cabin to figure out where the holy book had gone. Eventually, someone walked over to the kitchen stove and cracked it open. And there, sitting inside the dark iron belly of the oven, was the priest's Bible. It was a blatant, terrifying message. Your God cannot protect you here. The poor minister was utterly out of his depth. He prayed, he commanded the spirit to depart, but the Dagg Demon just laughed its insane, high-pitched giggle right back at him. The family's ultimate saving grace had completely failed. And that is end of part 1.
Wow, what a juicy tale.
It's something else, isn't it, this one?
Yeah, it's mad.
It seems to be combining every ghost story I've ever heard into one. And it's really scary. I don't like, do you want to go to hell with me, little girl?
No, that's not for me either, to be fair.
No, and I don't like the harmonica. Not a fan of that.
No.
So, yeah.
I did not enjoy the harmonica.
So, next week, even more weird stuff. And, you know, just when you think you can't get any more information or more weird goings on, it does. It gets stranger. So...
Well, that is where we hope the story goes.
Well, not next week, next episode. Yeah.
Next episode, yeah. Yeah.
So there we have it, my lovely.
There we have it. Well, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I'm glad you did. And Becky, you will have to listen because I'm not going over this when you turn up in 2 weeks.
No, she'll listen. We'll make her.
We'll make her listen. Anyway, sorry everyone that it was just a quickie. Sometimes a quickie nice though.
Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes we'll take a quickie over nothing.
Exactly. I think actually a quickie is definitely better than nothing.
Always better than nothing.
Because we could have said, oh, let's just knock it on the head for this week. They'll be all right.
Could have said that, but we didn't.
We did not say that.
We said, let's do a quickie.
Let's do a little quickie, yeah. All right, then.
Well, thanks for the quickie, Em.
You're welcome. It was lovely. Thank you,
I enjoyed
Tash.
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Stay safe, everyone.
I mean, I suppose this week you can kill people because she's not here, but I would suggest...
Don't.
Maybe suggest don't.
Don't do it.
Avoid it.
Yeah.
But definitely keep it weird.
Definitely. Bye.
Spine chillers and serial killers, where the chills meet the laughter spillers. Spooky